Well, hey, Bear Creek. This is Tim. I'm following up with what Brooke did yesterday with our video blog series that we're going to do. We might keep doing it, but it's definitely going to happen while we've got this coronavirus scare going on. Yesterday, Brooke talked to you about prayer, and I want to continue that theme, talking about how prayer can help, especially as we're dealing with our fears. Right now, I know a lot of people are scared, and maybe rightfully so. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts today about the coronavirus, and it's a little bit more damaging than I initially thought. I think it's very wise that our schools are canceling that. Right now, Erica and I are working from home based on what our works have told us to do. It's better to be safe than sorry is what we always said, but also we have to be careful between being safe and living in fear. I'm a bit of a geek, and there's an old book called Dune by Frank Herbert, and there's this quote in there saying, "I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me, and when it is gone, past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing, only I will remain." And that's a sort of mantra that took a hero in that book on a journey where he overcame fear and corruption and became a hero of a whole society. But there's something a little bit wrong with that quote as I think about it. I do want fear to not defeat me. I want fear to be defeated in my life. I don't want my mind to be stopped by fear. That's what often happens. You ever get it when you're afraid, whether it's this virus or a conflict you have to face or maybe a bad report at work or from a friend, and it just goes again and again in your head. It just starts sticking and circling in your mind. It's so hard to let that fear get out of your mind. It just gets stuck in there. When I was a kid, we'd put a card in our baseball spokes or our bicycle spokes, and it would just make that sound. And sometimes fear or anxiety does that in my mind. It just keeps clicking everything I go, everything I think of, everything I do. The fear and anxiety is always there. I don't want my mind to be destroyed by fear, but I don't want to live in a world where the fear is gone and only I remain. There's a better way. So to quote a better book than Dune, and there's only a few of those out there, but one of them is definitely the Bible. And it says in First John, chapter 1, it says that God is love. And whoever lives in love lives in God, and God lives in them. And this is how love is made complete among us, that we will have confidence on the day of judgment. In this world, we're like Jesus. There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. And we love because he first loved us. And to me, that's the better way to conquer fear, not to make sure that I am the only one that remains, but that God's love is the only thing that remains. When we're afraid, whether it's of this virus, whether it's judgment, the Bible's pretty clear that there is a judgment that we'll face. The passage talks about it, that our confidence is not that we will remain, but that God's love will remain. The thing that endures us, whether it's through a scary time of virus, financial downturns, presidents you like or don't like, or even the day of judgment, is that God will hold us. And so there's no fear in love. We have no punishment to be afraid of. So if you do get sick, you know someone who's sick, or you've gone through a bad time that's not related to this virus, it's not because God is punishing you. We don't believe in a God who acts like that. You don't say a bad word and the next day you get the flu, and that's God's way of getting you. We live in a world where God has taken the punishment on Jesus. That's what we're celebrating in this Easter season. That punishment was on Jesus, and we get the benefits of his resurrection. So there's no fear in love. Love drives out fear. And so what do we do with our anxiety? Here's what I try to do. The first thing I try to do is just be honest about it. To tell God, or sometimes I tell Erica, sometimes I tell my journal or another trusted friend, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that this relationship isn't going the way I want it to go. I'm afraid that this career isn't turning into what I hoped it would be. I'm afraid of this virus and what it could do to our society and economy. I'm afraid of whatever it is, and actually name it. Bringing things into light, as Brooke has said in the sermon last Sunday, bringing things to light, naming the demon, if you will, takes a lot of the power away from it. Then the next thing to do is to say, okay, God, if that's what I'm afraid of, what do you have for me? And this is where I wish I could tell you that if you say that you love God, if you say that your fears are honest, that you won't get sick, you won't have a bad consequence, you won't have a relationship that doesn't resolve, but that's not true. The truth is that Jesus takes the sting of death away, even though sometimes we deal with the face of death in our lives. And so we can realize that maybe I've lost this piece of my health, I've lost this relationship, but I'm still okay because God still loves me. True love is not that God loves me and has given me a golden ticket to everything I want in life. True love is that God loves me and will be there with me even in the worst times. Psalm 23 says that even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. So you're not afraid even when you're in the valley of the shadow of death. You're not afraid even when you're facing difficult circumstances. And so as we're praying through this next season, let's be honest in our prayers. Let's turn to God and we'll let fear wash over us, not so that only we remain, but that the fear reminds us, or the anxiety or whatever it is reminds us that Jesus must remain. I'm not stronger than a virus. I'm not stronger than divorce. I'm not stronger than kids having issues. I'm not stronger than any of that, but the love of God is strong enough, and He will sustain us. So if you have any questions or any concerns, reach out to Brooke, reach out to myself or anyone on staff. We'd love to pray with you. I think we're still planning on doing an online-only service this Sunday, so make sure you tune in for that. Wash your hands, say your prayers. Let's be safe. You're in my prayers as well. Love you, Bear Creek.